Hi, I'm Bonnie, Log Cabin Stitcher. Welcome to my channel and welcome to my sewing room. You can follow me on Instagram at Bonnie Log Cabin Stitcher. I'm back. It's been 3 weeks since my last video and I know I have missed you guys and I have had people asking me, am I okay? Just checking in on me. And I am back. And it's funny when I've heard other people say this too, when you haven't recorded in a while, it gets really hard to push that button, and I just thought, just do it. We're just going to do this. And this video is going to be broken down into 2 videos. I am hoping to get 2 floss tubes done today, because just like my floss tube number 14 and 15, I broke one into cross stitch and one into embroidery. This will be floss tube 16, and I'm hoping to do floss tube 17 as well, because I had a whole pile of stuff on my table and I started recording on Friday and the light was just coming right at me, and because I have blinds it was just coming in and not working. Then Saturday morning I was ready to push record. Everything was laid out, organized and beautiful, which is how I really like it. And I work on call and I got a call to go out to work and I chose to take it. And then I was gone all day. So here I am this morning. And as I was watching our church service online, I just looked up at my table and I thought, we need to break this into 2 so I don't have to rush through it. So that's why we are doing 2 videos today. So this one is kind of a follow-up, or like an embroidery continued from my last floss tube, which must have been number 15. And after that, because that was 3 weeks ago, I got a lot of comments that some things I had kind of known about and some things I hadn't ever heard of before. So this is what I'm going to share with you. This is where I am just kind of getting back into embroidery again. We have so many different, a lot of us have so many different stitching things that we do. I want to say modes, but I don't know if that's the right word. We have a lot of different stitching things that we do. And so when I found FlossTube in August, I just got totally immersed, and I've done everything cross stitch. I see everything in cross stitch, and I haven't done my quilting, my hand applique, my wool applique, embroidery. Everything kind of got pushed off to the side. So now I'm pulling my embroidery back out again, because as I went to do that video, I got really inspired. I inspired myself to get back into embroidery. And then I have been hearing a lot from my viewers that they've been inspired either to start embroidery or to pull their embroidery projects out again. So I love to inspire. That's one of my goals in doing this. One of my goals is just to inspire, especially to inspire you to try needling in a different way than you have done before and see if you like it. So here we go. I'm going to start with a past project that I did. So this was one when in I think it was my FlossTube 1 where I kind of introduced why I was doing FlossTube and how my different process of the styles of stitching that I have done. I mentioned that I got into embroidery. I told the year, I can't remember now, but it was after 2000. So I got into embroidery, and then you know how our styles change along the way. So this stuff right here, oh, that's an embroidery. Those are the types of things that I am doing now. Those colors, that style, that's me now. This is my quilting style, and oh, there we go. That's my style. So when I first got into embroidery, this was a project that I did. And I loved it, and actually I made 2 of them. So this one, I'll kind of do a slow, this pattern I believe is still available. So I will show that to you soon. This is where I got into the over-dyed flosses. So you can see here, this has a beautiful over-dyed blue. I wouldn't be able, I didn't even write down what those colors were back then. Now that I'm doing FlossTube, I see that that's a really neat thing to do. And you can see this went from silver to blue. And then this as the bee skep, that was 1 floss. So the over-dyeds can be very fun to bring out different elements, just like the bee skep looks like it was woven in different colors. So you can tell this is a long one. And the style on this, so now as I look at it, it's more of what I used to back in the 80s call cutesy. It's more, rather than the primitive, it is more of a cute style. Now, the special thing, Granby's Garden. So I had made this for my mother, and I had given it to her at Mother's Day, and she wanted the kids to call her Granby. So instead of Grandma Barbara, she shortened it to Granby. And it's been spelled different ways, but this was one that I made for her. She had it hanging at her house, and then after she passed away, my sister had it for a while, enjoyed it, and then I just met with my sister a couple weeks ago to get some more stuff that she's passing on to me, and I got this. And at first when I saw it, I thought, I don't want to look at it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it anymore, because sometimes I'm missing my mom so much, even after 6 years. Sometimes that pain is sharp and other times it's not, and I remember the joy. So I put it away for like a week, and then I pulled it out and I thought, what do I want to do with it? And I thought, I'm going to keep it, because I had made one of these for myself. We had it hanging in our trailer, and then when we sold our fifth wheel trailer, I probably gave it to the thrift store because just didn't want it anymore. It wasn't my style anymore. I enjoyed it when I did it, and then it was gone. So I know, I was just talking to a friend of mine this morning about the difference between process stitchers and project stitchers, and this is what I've learned in FlossTube. I am a process stitcher, so I got joy out of stitching that. So even though I had mine and I had it hanging for several years, and then I gave it away after that for someone else to enjoy, the pleasure that I got out of it was the planning of it, the buying the floss for it, and the stitching of it. It gave me joy afterwards, but honestly, I believe I get more joy out of before it is done than after it is done, and I know that's why a lot of us have a lot of unfinished projects. So that is my project, and I'll share a little bit more about that, why it's so special too, and why it's hard for me to see later if I choose to. I know sometimes it's like, if I'm going to cry, you know, I just won't share it, but that fell on the floor. There's special things about that one. But that is, let's take it out so you can see it. This is the pattern. So I found Bird Brain Designs at the Road to California show, and you can see this one's done in green, and there was but I believe this one is still for sale. So you can go on Bird Brain Designs. Hopefully they're still in business and she's still designing. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and I had a lot of Bird Brain Design patterns and did those. So that is a past project. Now I'm going to show you the new project that I just started last night and stitched on this morning. Then I'm really going to show you some stuff that I have learned. So I'm going to share with you some of the comments and kind of giving you some more ideas of things that you could try. So these are my project bags. So if you follow me on FlossTube, you will see my regular cross stitch FlossTube videos. I have gotten obsessed with this project bag making, and I am learning how to do flanges. I'm learning how to put in zippers, and I just sort of learned how to do boxed edges. So I will be sharing more about that on my FlossTube number 17. So in this, and I'm learning how to be more careful when I put the zipper in. So this is something that I had ordered several months ago as I realized I'm really getting obsessed with sewing accessories, and I really want to get back into embroidery, and a lot of the embroidery patterns that I had are not necessarily my current style. So this is my new project. And I know with cross stitch now I have gotten into the floss tags and the floss jewelry, and I did a video on how I am doing my floss charms, which is where you use cabochons. This goes back to how I've generally done it, just floss wads. And when I do embroidery, I don't even pay attention to what the called for colors are on a project, because let me show you the pattern and why even if they had the called for colors, I'm not going to do these. This I ordered on Etsy. So it's Leanne's House, and it's the new couch companion. So this is just a fun, this is the front, and then you fold it over, so it's folded in thirds. This is the inside, so as you're sitting it, they call it a couch companion because as it's sitting on the arm of the chair, this is up, and these two go down to the side of the arm, if that's how you're going to put it over. So just to show you that again, these colors I'm doing similar. So I really liked these are more my style of colors. So I had chosen some, I had a fat quarter bundle, and it was a Joe Morton, and I love those colors, and I had chosen the colors. I think there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's really 7 fabrics that you would put together. I love doing that. I make a big mess when I do it. And when you have a fat quarter bundle, you have a lot of fabrics that coordinate. Then I went to start picking out the floss, and I thought, oh, those colors are brown and orange, and I really wanted to do the embroidery project as it was with more of the pink and brown tones. So I chose a whole new, so that of course took hours and more of a mess. But I chose this color palette. So these are the colors that I'm going to be doing. These are my favorite colors of pink, which I think it's the pink that has kind of more of a brown in it. And these are more of the fabrics that I like. And I really like the chocolatey browns, probably because I love coffee and chocolate. And these are the fabrics that I have chosen for that. So then I decided I'm not going to get overwhelmed and choose a whole bunch of threads. I'm just going to start out with the pink, one of the pinky browns that I want to use, and one of the greens that I use, and we'll just go from there. And that's how I decided to do that. So it's been fun to get back into embroidery again, and just to really enjoy the flosses that I have. And I do love the overdyed flosses. So as these are 2 flosses that you can see, it's going to have the light, the medium, and the dark. This has a bit of brown in there. I don't know if it's showing, but that's what I wanted to do. Now I have been learning some things, and I will share a little bit more about this FriXion pen and how I processed that in a moment, but I really like it. This was this morning's stitching. So this is the inner pin cushion portion of it. So I'm going to fold this over, and I was trying to think, I would in my fantasy world, I would love to show you my stitching, to show you through my view and why I do what I do. But I know in my reality world, between my work, between all the things that I have not been doing and need to do, and I'm an introvert, and I'm not techie, it's not going to get done for right now. So I was trying to think, well, how can I share with you if you wanted to see how I actually do my stitching? Let me tell you this as well. Just like with Jan Paddock does needle turn applique tutorials, very wonderful. Also, Kathy Schmitz does embroidery tutorials. So I'm going to recommend, if you're wanting to learn about stitches, check out hers. That's where I've been learning from as well, and enjoying just watching her stitching. She shows it from the back. Someday I'll figure that out. I'm learning not to commit myself to too many things, because my personality is, I have all these ideas, all this stuff I want to do, and I'm not really great at follow through. That's one of the challenges with my personality. So I was just deciding this morning, this is how I'm going to show you how I am doing certain things. In this, I left the needle in here on purpose. And I wanted to share with you, if I can get that really close and see, I don't do the back stitch when I do my embroidery. I do the stem stitch. So this is the stem stitch, and I take very small stitches. I don't even know what measurement that would be, but that is the needle going in where that stitch would be. So now if I pull it out a little bit, I wanted to show you when I go to do the stem stitch, I go in at the point, I'm not going to be able to do it from far away. I go in at the point where the previous stitch was. I don't do the back stitch. I do the stem stitch. Even when I'm doing tiny lettering, I do one thread and do the stem stitch. So as these other two stitches are kind of here like this, when I go in, I meet them and then I pull that thread up. And so there's an overlay. And so as you're doing the stem stitch, one stitch, instead of kind of going back to back with the back stitch, they overlay. And so it looks almost like pearl cotton, almost like a two-stranded rope. I very much like that stitch. And it is what all my projects are. And so as I'm doing that, there's a couple things that I wanted to share with you on that. One was how small my stitches, I am choosing to make those stitches. And I do like it because I feel I can be very accurate and the stitches don't enlarge. I kind of showed you on my other FlossTube video that was about embroidery. My mother did larger stitches and looser stitches, and that gave her joy, and that was beautiful. I like the tiny details. That's my personality. That's why I do the quilt projects that I do, because I like those details and I like hand stitching. So this is just what I'm choosing to do. So the other thing that I wanted to share is someone had asked me, do I do one thread or two? So if I'm doing something very tiny, where's that project? That's gonna be a project, an embroidery project in my next FlossTube video. And I don't even know where that is in the stack, but I will share at that time why I chose one strand and the other stuff of why I chose two strands. So let me put my glasses on again. So as I'm stitching, of course, those two threads want to kind of come apart just like they do in cross stitching, and you're going to have like one looser and one tighter. This is what I was explaining. So when I commented on that comment, I explained it and I said, okay, so in my next video, I'm going to show you what I do. So because I'm doing so many tiny stitches and I love the detail, I want those to lay as nicely as they can. So this is what I do. I will pull, let's see if I can hold this, because usually I'm doing this in my lap. I do not stitch in hoop on embroidery, which is, I do it kind of opposite. So embroidery, I stitch in hand. Cross stitch, I stitch in hoop. That's just how I learned. So what I will do when I want to undo, like this is the thread halfway used, and I want to undo it. So I will get that needle all the way up to the base of my project. I'm going to have to do it this way. I will get my fingernail in there and divide it and run my finger down to separate them, and then I will help them separate and untwist. Then I will help them come together. And I could lick my fingers and go do that. I'm usually kind of a licker, but right now, you know, with the illness that we're trying to avoid, I've really been careful about putting my fingers in my mouth. So that's not something that I'm doing right now. So now I can see it's smooth and straight. Now I can pull my needle down. So I'm holding this straight, as with these fingers, I'm going to pull my needle down, and that just helps it stay. So the two threads are lying nicely together. Then I will get it. See, I'm still holding it with these fingers down here, and I'm just going to pull, because it's awkward right now, me doing it in this position. So then I'll be there, I'll be ready, and I'll start stitching again. Maybe every couple inches I will do that, maybe more often. I don't even know why I do what I do, but if I'm noticing that there is that unevenness, I will just stop and undo it and make it so I can really enjoy, because it is not just that I would have a finished project. It is that I could look at those stitches and they would give me pleasure, because it would be like that. I nailed it. I got it the way I wanted it to. So that's enough on my how I do that stem stitch. I talked about the needles that I use. I talked about a lot of the things that I use in my last FlossTube video, so I'd love for you to check it out if you have not seen it. In that one, I shared how I used the blue water-soluble pen to mark, and now I have been seeing the FriXion pens. I had it laid here, because of course I changed things again this morning. Here we go. So I am now using the FriXion clicker, and it's funny because I keep wanting to push this, but that's how you push it to get it up. Very sharp point, which I like. So as I'm doing this, this is the first project that I will be doing this with. I had shared before that I've always used that blue marker. It's always come out, and I've been good. I've heard different things about these, that they can come back in cold weather. And so I wanted to really check and see, do I really want to do it? But because Kathy Schmitz uses it, she's professional, I decided to jump in and do it as well. I do very much like that it is a very thin line. And with the blue, it would have shown. So this is an even finer tip than the blue. Then the blue is bright, and I usually stitch on dark. So the other thing that I'm pleased about is not only do you not see that line there, it is thinner and it is dark. So I may not even need to use the iron to remove it. That was what I forgot to say. Heat removes it. That's where possibly cold temperatures could bring it back. We'll see. But that's why I'm doing that. Now, this is what I wanted to mention. I did a lot of thinking because I've had comments on what other people use to support the back. Because this is how I learned, I still chose to do this project with batting. So now I'm going to look at the project because I am most comfortable with this. I don't have to think about it. It feels right. And as I'm doing my little stitches and making my fingers work together, this feels right and I like it. And so I thought I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm going to try to even find a thinner batting. And I know in the garage I have some wool batting that I got as a free sample. So I'm going to give that a try if it's thin. That's what I'm choosing to do. Now these are the comments that I got. Most comments that I got, people use the SP101. Now I purchased that because I am making sewing accessories and this is what is used. And so it is a woven and it's thin. You can see through it. So it is thin and it is iron on. So this one you would iron it on and it should stay attached to that project. As I was searching, I was finding some people commenting. So I searched this months ago. I was finding people commenting that in some of their projects, it came unfused and it separated. And I thought, I don't even want to try doing that at that time. But because so many people have commented that this is what they use, I will do another project and I will give that a try. But because it's been a while since I've done a lot of embroidery, I just decided do what's comfortable, and because of the project that I'm doing, I knew it was going to be okay if I had that thickness from the batting. Next project that I do, I maybe will just do a small, and I'm going to give this a try because I have a lot of it, but I've been using a lot of it in all the project accessories that I've been making that I will share on my FlossTube 17. The other comment that I got was from Brett, and Brett said, I've never heard of this product, but I searched it this morning, and you can get one sheet for $2, so I'm going to get it. Sulky, and it's called Sticky Fabri-solvy. I'm going to spell it. So Sulky, S-U-L-K-Y, and then Sticky, and then it's Fabri-solvy. And you can print and peel. Now, one challenge that I have is I have several printers, but they are all laserjet because of my work. I do not have an inkjet, and I think inkjet is what you would want to use. That's what most foundation paper piecing want to use. So definitely check on what type of ink you use in your printer and what they call for. Now, the other thing it says, it's print and peel, and it is specifically made for hand embroidery as a stabilizer. So I thought, ooh, there's a lot of people doing machine embroidery, but this is for hand embroidery. So thank you, Brett. I'm going to be giving that a try. Now, the other one I got several comments on was Transfer-Eze, and I believe that's what Kathy Schmitz also uses too. But those two, I believe you would put those, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think with those you would put those on the front of the project, because instead of transferring the pattern onto the actual fabric or whatever you're using, you would put it on that stabilizer or paper. You would attach that here and you would stitch through that. And I thought, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. I don't know if I would needle that well. It's certainly something that I would like to try. So if you have experience with those things, please comment, because especially for people, like, I am sharing what I do. I am not an expert. I just do what I do, and I'm comfortable with what I'm doing right now, but there's always better ways. So if you want to learn more from others, please read through the comments, and hopefully people will comment on things that they're using and things that are working. So I love that. Let's see, that was all on the transferring and the support, the stabilizer that people were using. So the other thing that I had questions and comments on was, oh, and here's the other part. This is hand-dyed fabric. So this is going to be the front. So it is a bigger, so you can see it's about 8.5 by 20. So this, when it's folded up, it would be folded here and then there, and then that would be the project. So it is a nice size that you can stick some things in. So this one, it just has the embroidery on one side and then all the way down. So this is a hand-dyed fabric, and so I don't know if it's even showing here, but it looks like it has lines. So it looks like it has fold lines in there, and there are some fold lines, but also some of those are just the design of the hand dye. So I enjoyed it, and mostly because it was the tan tone that I needed to go with my stuff. And then it's also in the backing. It looks very wrinkled, but that's actually the design of the fabric. So just kind of fun, kind of unique. The other thing that I don't think I shared before, this was my original mode before I really got into, I have made several needle books, and I will share those in my next FlossTube. This was what I used to use, these needle nests. These I shared about in my, these are the thimbles that I use. I already shared about those. These are just different needles, and it's magnetic. But I just noticed the clip is not tight. So this is what I used to use, but I was going to use one of my new needle books, but it's in my stack of things to share. So that will be coming next. So let's see if we can pop that on the floor. We're done with that. Okay, so here is where the other question that I had is, because I had shared that what I have primarily stitched on is what looks like, I mean, I guess it would be considered, yes, it is a quilted fabric. And this was the original. So when my sister got into embroidery, the end of the 90s, so 1990 something, she got into embroidery, and she had purchased this fabric. I believe it was called Sandcastle. Then when I got into embroidery, that was getting harder to find at the time, so I purchased this one. So you can see that one's lighter, this one's a little bit darker, a little bit different texture, very similar, and nice. And then the other side has almost like this nylon on it. So somehow it gets that, it's very thin, but somehow it gets that nice quilted effect. And that was what I believe is called Sandcastle. But because I knew that it was going to get harder to find, when I finally, my sister-in-law actually found it in Colorado. My sister and I had her buy everything that there was at the store. I think there was like 5 yards, and it was quite wide. So my sister and I have quite a supply of that. I don't know if it's available now, but it's really neat. On a friend's Instagram post, there was a project, I think it was a wool applique, and that looked like the fabric that they used. So it was a new project that had just come out. I think it was from the Wool and Willow, and that fabric was being used. So I hope it can be found. But what I like to share, because a lot of what I share, I have purchased a long time ago, and it may not be available, whether it's patterns or fabrics or whatever, it may not be available now. So I wanted to encourage, that's the other reason that I really love to do these videos, is to bring joy and encouragement. I wanted to encourage you. I just pulled open my woven fabric drawer, and I wanted to share with you on some things that you could use. Osnaburg, I had shared about this in my last video, so I'm not going to go into detail on that, but look at the flex. I love the flex. This is just another hand-dyed fabric that I had, but you can see the veins on there. Looks like cross-stitch hand-dyed. Then this is simply muslin, and it's an unbleached muslin, but it's also not dyed. So I don't like it that light. I would choose to tea dye or coffee dye it. And any questions on that, I always refer people back to Daisy K's Primitives. Christy does a great tutorial. And then I know I used to use tea dye, and I have jars of that in my refrigerator. Then this is another woven, and right now a lot of these may be harder to find, but I do know that Primitive Gatherings in Marietta, when I went there in June, they had a nice section of their wall, and I bought some of these there. They are more pricey, but you don't need big chunks of them. This is another one. It looks like linen, but it's actually just a fabric. Look at this one. Look at those threads. So that would, of course, be for something that you wanted more primitive. This one, similar to that white, but just in a different tone, so a little darker. This one I love. I've used the moon. The moon is from this fabric, and you can see it. I think they also call them, I know in a lot of the Japanese quilting that I love, Yoko Sato. I don't even know if that's how you pronounce her name. I have many of her stitching books, applique, bags. Incredible. If you do Pinterest, whoa. Find her, and she is amazingly inspiring. And this was just, oh, my hair is like everywhere. I shed. That's just another fabric. That's a thicker one. So there's lots of things to stitch on if you're like me and like more of that primitive look. So that's what I wanted to share. Now I'm just going to work through my pile. I'm not going to, okay, it's already a half hour. This is why I wanted to separate the videos, because I really like to share lots of options. When I'm learning how to do something, I don't prefer like a 2-minute quickie edited video. It's like, whoa, what did I just see? And how am I going to remember that? So I do the videos as if it's one that I would want to watch. So if it's too slow for you, maybe you could fast forward. But this I will be sharing. This is a project bag that I made out of placemats that I practice on machine applique or machine embroidery, machine quilting. Again, that's why it's like, slow down, Bonnie. If people want to watch me, they'll still be here. So I will share about this on the next FlossTube. But what I wanted to share, I made this bag, and it is a larger bag. It doesn't fit in my basket with all the other stuff, but it's perfect. I used this little baby last night for the first time. I got a Lightbox, but you can see it fits it perfectly. This is an 18-inch zipper, and so I can get this in and out. If it didn't have this, it would come out smoother, but I don't know if this is going to get scratched or not. This is a Lightbox. It's USB, so I have an aught light right underneath you guys. I have an aught light, and it has a USB port in the back, so it's very good when I've got my iPad there filming, because it's an older iPad and it loses its energy quick. So last night I just stood at my quilting table and I used my brand new Lightbox. So look at how thin this is. I used to have one, and it was wide, and I think the light bulbs were older, and you couldn't, the window was what I was using because that was brighter. This was really cool, and it actually, I love how thin it is. It seemed to only have one setting. It didn't have instructions, but I got it on Amazon, and you know, I got it like 6 months ago, I think, and I haven't used it since then. So that's what it is. It's called, here's the other thing. I will try to link it in the thing below. TikTech. So it works great. I like it. It was inexpensive. I want to say it was around $20. So that worked lovely, and that's what I used to be able to transfer my embroidery pattern last night. So that worked out pretty good. The other thing that I have found is my eyes have changed. So when I was doing embroidery 10 years ago, 10 years ago? Yeah, about 10 years ago, I got into embroidery. No, longer than that. I'm looking out at the garden. Okay, I got into embroidery maybe 15 years ago. So it's been a while, and my eyes have changed. I didn't need, I've always worn prescription glasses since 6th grade. I didn't need any extra magnification. I did, a friend of mine, I watered her garden while she was on vacation, and she gave me one of those beautiful, it was very heavy, but it was a great aught true color light. So anywhere I stitched, I had that with me. It was heavier, but it was amazing. And that's what I used. And I had it, you can gooseneck it down and get it right on, right where I needed it. And I stitched and it worked out perfectly. And then I was stitching this morning and I was thinking, what is wrong? I can't see what I'm doing. And I realized, oh my gosh, my eyes have changed. And so I have liked embroidery because it's something that I can do outside. So when we usually go up to our cabin, I like to we sit out front for hours and watch all the wildlife. And I thought, well, cross stitch, I really need my magnifier, but embroidery, I don't. Well, I'm finding that if I'm going to do my little tiny stitches, I do. Even though I have my glasses, my prescription, I needed my light. So, okay, that's why I keep thinking, why do I want to keep putting my glasses on? It's because my eyes are strained because I was trying to do the stitching without the magnifier. So in my FlossTube, I believe it was 3, I shared my perfect setup, and it's crazy when I look at how many views it has had. It's like, whoa. You know, maybe people saw it and then it was like that wasn't what they were expecting. But a lot of people have seen that. A lot of people have commented they got that setup and they love it. So I have used that setup, and this is the magnifying light. It again was on Amazon. And so if you go to that video, if I have time, because there's so many things that I need to do today, I may link it, or you may need to go to FlossTube 3 and see. This one was about $40. Now, usually I use this on a stand, with a clip, and that's clipped onto my lap stand when I'm doing my cross stitch. This was different. I was thinking, how in the world am I going to do this? So I will share my stitching, my embroidery stitching setup as of this morning. So what I did was I had it on here. I did have it plugged in. It does have a plug, and I had it plugged in, and the lights were on, and they work great. This is the shape that I had it in. So when I was stitching, I tucked this under my left leg or left thigh, and I had this up so I could see what I was stitching. And between the light and the magnification, it worked. It worked great, as long as when I needed to loosen up those 2 threads, I had to kind of pull my hands out and do that. That worked great. And so I've got that. The other thing that I do that I want to share with you, just because I'm going to share with what works for me, because I don't use the hoop when I stitch in hand with embroidery and hand quilting. I will sit either in a recliner, and I let my legs be that stand for me, and I rest my stitching against my legs when they've been tucked up. I just get them at the right angle, and that's how I stitch, and that works for me. So either I'll sit in a recliner, or if I'm here, this is usually my stitching spot in my sewing room, because this is my happy room. I wanted to show you something that I made. So I had shared this before, but before it was done. So hold on one moment, and I'm going to show you what I made. So in my room, I have needed to figure out, because I have a lot of stuff, I want to keep it organized, and I like old stuff. This is an old wood box, and I've shared about how I've used these before, and you can see there's plastic boxes inside of there for storage, and this is covered with some fabric that I love. It was just left over from another, a chair that I had upholstered. So I made this top for the wood box. Now the back, and it was thicker than my other ones that I have made, but this turned out to be, it's a really cushy seat. So that's how I did it. My husband just did pieces of wood, and you know, I'm certainly not doing a tutorial on this because I wasn't really happy with how the corners came out, but this is just a great it's a great stool for me, because just like tiny house living, when you have a lot of stuff and not tons and tons of space, you want to find out how not just to have a stool, but to have a storage stool. And then when I can pull it right here and put it down, and that's where I have it when I'm sitting at my couch, or I put it right under my quilting table, and I have my bar stool that I pull forward, and I just either have my feet there, or I can get closer if I'm going to be doing beading or any project. That's my stool for there, and it's the perfect height for a bar stool. So again, just some things that I'm doing. Now, I think in FlossTube number 4, I showed my organization on how I organize my floss. And I'm progressing and changing kind of along the way. The other thing that I'm going to share about in my FlossTube is kind of why I haven't been on for a couple weeks, because I really got into some organizing. And I know a lot of other people are doing that too. When you take down Christmas, it just seems like the house is kind of blah, but a perfect time to organize. So I'm going to share about some more stuff in my next video, but this is one of the things that I did. So now, because I have more flosses, I use these wheels, and I go into great detail on that FlossTube. I think it's number 4. DMC, overdyed, silk, sulky. So as I'm stitching, now I can just tuck this next to me, and I can flip through and find those colors, because I have them by color for the overdyeds and silks, and by number for the DMC. And that's why it's not a big deal. I'm not going to take the time to do floss tags with my embroidery at the moment, because I'll use it and then I'll put it back. As long as I write down the name, that's going to be great. But, and then if I'm going to take them up to the cabin, I shared that 31 tote, and that's how I will take it up to the cabin. So let me tuck this back. But this morning, I was looking at some things, since I thought, well, I'm going to break these up into 2 short videos. Not going to be short. It's going to be just as long as normal. I thought, well, I can then share with you a few more things, just as if you were hanging out with me. See, like if anyone ever came out to visit me, it's a long process, because I got to share, and then I want to hear what you're doing. So when my sister and I divided up my mom's stuff, because she was a stitcher, this was something that she had given me. These are things from both my mother and my sister, because she's kind of changed some of the stuff that she's done. And I thought, oh my goodness. And again, my eyes are hurting, so let me put these on for a minute. There is some glare, but this is neat. And I thought, well, I'm going to share with you why. Anyway, let's just share them. Okay, so this is DMC, and I know you can get these at the box stores. So this is Variegated Dmc Pearl. This is size 5. Then I remember when my sister Ginge and my mom and I went to a store in Colorado, and it was called Karen. So the Karen collection, gorgeous colors. If I take them out, I'm never going to get them back in the right place, so they're just going to stay in here. This is how I have done mine, and that's where I thought, I'm not doing these anymore, so I just put them away. I did little balls, so these were just some little balls of the different colors that I've had, but beautiful. And I thought, oh wow, this is how Ginger and Mom did, how I learned how to use those floss bags. And again, I tell you all about the different bags that. And the Yarnology from Hobby Lobby matches these. These are older ones. They're very expensive if you get them on eBay now. Yarnology is the same size. So I will now be making a floss wheel. And then I was just thinking, oh, that basket fits everything perfectly. Now what am I going to do? Not going to worry about it. But there's just so many things that you can use to stitch. Then, since I had that box out, I found this box. And these are DMCs that I had purchased. They're size 12. So I had tried hand quilting my Cherry Wishes with this. That was a quilt on one of my other quilting videos. And it was thin, and I didn't really care for it, but I kept them because I had several colors. And then one time when I was in Colorado, has some amazing stitching stores. These were some that I had picked up just because I loved the colors, and I'd never heard of it before. I'm not going to see it. I think it's, what is it called? Finca. This one was my favorite. Can you see it? I don't know. Size 12 Finca. But thinner than what I would use for my hand quilting. So when I do hand quilting, my favorite is my whole Valdani size 12 collection. But if you go Valdani to DMC or anything else, it's not going to be equivalent on size. So it's nice to have options. It's nice to have a drink too. One of my new favorite things to do is, I I'm trying not to drink so much coffee, even decaf. But I've been craving that a lot lately as I'm trying to get back off of sugar. But now what I like to do is brew up a cup of Celestial Seasonings Sleepy Time tea. I do use a little bit of stevia for sweetening. Then I let it go cold, and then I drink it as a strong iced, or it's not iced, a strong cold tea. So that's what I'm drinking now. Okay, so what else we're just going to close out, but I know it'll be at least 15 more minutes before we're done. I wanted to share with you some things just to show you what is available now and things that I got a long time ago. But embroidery crosses over into a lot of different stitching. Now I want to call it avenues. I don't even know what you call it. Please comment on what do you call these things. So between wool applique, that's stitching, hand applique, that's stitching, needlework, I guess would be called. So embroidery crosses those lines into other needlework arts. Let's just call it that until someone helps me out. This is a pattern I got a long time ago, but this is wool applique, yet this is the stem stitch right there. So, and then doing this can sometimes be the blanket stitch. So there's a lot of different stitching things that you can do with embroidery. So it is a neat skill to learn. There are so many books available. I realize I have a lot of my books up at the cabin. There's been so much snow up there we haven't been able to go, as well as my husband's work schedule. So I know there's some of my books up there as well. But this is, so that's something that I wanted to share with you. Then, oh, let's pull this one out. This is why, okay, so this is why I thought about those thicker threads. This is a book. My mom was given this by a friend many years ago. Then she gave it to me because this is Kansas Troubles. And it is an old book. But look at that quilt. And that is applique. So this is, so that's a close-up. And then that's a real close-up of the thistle one. So that's when I thought, oh my goodness, I've got threads that would work for that. Whether it's my Baldani pearl cotton, and I think pearl just means it's those like 2 strands of that rope kind of thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. So that's where I thought, oh, so that thicker would come in handy too. Aside from the regular cotton thin floss, that thicker would be neat too to give different textures. So I got that out, and I'm going to put that out to be able to experiment. This is another one. There was a neat quilting store that I visited a couple times when we used to camp down in San Diego. I think it was called the Country Loft. It closed. But one of the designers that also she taught there, Joanne Joanne Muley. I'm not even sure. Anyway, I picked this up long ago. But that's a project that I want to do. And now when I looked at the size of it, I realized it's a bigger project, so I want to reduce it because I like small stitches. So that's something that I'm going to be working on. And I didn't take the time to see if it's still available because otherwise I would never get these done. Then there is a set of patterns that I wanted to share with you So the first thing that I had purchased by this designer, it's Annie Downs, and it's Hatched and Patched. This was something I picked out again at another San Diego neat store, Fat Quarters Quilt Shop, I think. And it's not Fat Quarters Quilt Shop, that's available online by Kimberly Jolly. It was Fat Quarters. It was an amazing primitive store in, I think it was La Mesa or Vista. It's gone. So I bought that. And I'm going to share on my next video on why now I've got my wool right under this desk right now, which is amazing. So 2 years ago, I think I picked up this pattern, and I found it when I was doing Pinterest, and it's Hatched and Patched, and I love that whimsical, funky look. So this one is in progress until I found FlossTube, and then I haven't been doing that. But that's oh yeah, there is some applique in that, but not much. It's mostly just the hand embroidered. I'm getting so distracted. hand applique that I will be doing. I don't know that there's any embroidery in that. But as I looked at blocks that I'm going to change out, because I do that all the time, when I was Pinteresting, I found this pattern, Gossip in the Garden. These blocks are not my style. Most of them. The colors are not my style, but I can do whatever I want, so I'm going to change the colors. This does not have really wonderful pictures, but if you search this on Pinterest, you will find all these as little separate individual things. So if I make it this way, I will change out most of those blocks. But I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I just know I liked it. It made me happy, and I bought it because I found it. It wasn't used, but I found it very inexpensive. This one I just got in the fall of last year. And look at how much embroidery this has. So this is wool applique. And look at all that embroidery. So that's what I wanted to leave you as inspiration, because you can purchase this now. And here's a close-up of all the different things. I have not started this because, again, I've been like obsessed with cross-stitching, but I love the style. I just like the funkiness of it and that. So a lot of things that you can do with embroidery, and that at least is something that I know you can get now. So I think I've shared with you everything that I had intended to do, and I'm really glad I separated these videos, because I will rewatch some of my videos just to see what did I talk about. And I'll be thinking, slow down, girl, slow down. So I want to try to do these slower, and that's where I feel if I've got so much to share, I want to talk fast so I get it all in. So there you go. That's what I've learned about embroidery. Let me look at my notes. Oh, the other thing. Oh, I was texting with my friend Lisa last night, and she was showing me what she was working on. I was showing her what I was working on, and she had some darling. She had done some transfer too on a project, 2 projects, but hadn't started stitching yet. And I'd never heard of the designer, but it's Jenny of Elefantz. And so Elefantz is Elefantz. Maybe you don't pronounce it Elefantz, but darling stuff. Then another commenter, and again, I'm bad at names, so I'm sorry, I'm not going to remember, but thank you for directing me to, on Instagram, it's Nikki Franklin _needlework. She has a store called The Stitchery. Gorgeous, amazing, expert stitchery. Amazing. So I'm so inspired, and I thought, okay, I got to get into this now. So I thought, let's just hold on and get some stuff done before I buy too many more things. Gorgeous. So if you have a favorite place that you love, please comment, because it's not just for me. It will be for other people that will read the comments as well. So I hope I've inspired you again to pull out some of your stitching, or even to try it for the first time. You don't have to do the tiny stitching that I do. You could do large stitching. And I'm looking at something, and I want to share it again. So this is my mom's quilt. And this is, whoops, I'm not going to trip. This is her stitching. It's larger. Everything has lint on it. Where did that lint go? Doesn't matter. Okay, larger stitching, simple stitching, lazy daisies. Her hand quilting is amazing, and I cannot do that yet. But, you know, do the style that pleases you and enjoy that. So thank you so much for watching, and either learning something new or just seeing what I have to share about embroidery. So at the end of these videos is where I share what I call the good stuff. I'm sharing my heart. I'm sharing what God has been walking me through, or what I have been walking through with God, and learning as I do this journey. So over the last several weeks, there's been modes that I've been in, whether I'm feverishly doing this, or just not have time to do anything. I'm trying to get out and get Riley walking more, which gets me walking more, but I can't wait until it's late. That gives me a lot more options. But there is a lot of stuff here in the States that we are going through, and there's a lot of things that people are polarized on, totally one side, totally the other. And it's hard. And of course, I'm on one of those sides. And it's hard. It's dividing up families. It's dividing up relationships. It's just there's a lot of division going on. But it's because we have a passion of what we believe in and what we believe is right and true. And so that's just the reality of what's going on. So I wanted to share with you a devotional that I read. And I thought, oh, I got to share this. So this is from my Billy Graham, Hope for Each Day. This is the morning and evening devotions. I bought my dad one, and it was just one. But this one is from January 15th, and it's called Seeking the Truth. So the verse is Acts 17, 16 through 17. While Paul was in Athens, he reasoned in the synagogue with the Jews and the God-fearing Greeks, as well as in the marketplace day by day with those who happened to be there. So I'm going to pause there for a second before I read the rest of it. And that's where a challenge lies right now it's what's called cancel culture here in the States. I don't know if it's everywhere else, but a certain group of people are deciding that you will hear one thought, one I think they call it narrative. You'll hear something, and if you're saying something that is against that, you're gone. If it's in this realm, you're gone. I may be gone. If I'm gone, it's not because I've chosen to be gone. It's because I've been taken down, because Bible is not, it's one of those things that people who have power aren't interested in. So we'll see. I'm not going to fight it. If God wants me here, he's going to keep me here. If I am removed and God wants me to do something different, I'm just going to say, okay, God, what next do I do? So I'm working on not worrying about it, but it's very frustrating. So the truth, usually you could watch different news channels and you're going to hear what one news is presenting as truth and what another news is presenting as truth. And nope, now one truth or one thought is on the networks. The other thought, you have to find it really quick before it's taken down, or I am finding those as different avenues. And this is where I may get taken down because of this, and so be it. I watch the Victory Channel. I watch Right Side Broadcasting. I watch OAN, One American News, and I watch Newsmax, as well as a lot of other stuff. And that's where, if my voice is taken down because of that, so be it. But that's what frustrates me. We are no longer allowed to reason. Reasoning is like one side and another side, and then you talk about it, and then you get to choose what you choose to believe. And it kind of goes back to that idea that I had heard of a long time ago. It's like someone saying, if I want your opinion, I'll tell you what it is. That's what's going on here in the States. And I've been trying to be careful about what I share, because I don't want to, these are my opinions. This is my belief. This is me. And that's what's been going on in my world. That's part of what's been going on in my world. I'm very, very upset about it for a lot of different reasons. Now I'm going to get back to this. Okay, when the Apostle Paul came to Athens, Greece, we saw people who were like many in our world today. They're trying to put together the puzzle of life. The average Athenian of the day was a religious person. In fact, the people in Athens had numerous gods, and their city was sprinkled with numerous idols and temples. They also followed numerous philosophies in their search for truth. The philosophers of Athens argued with Paul, but some who heard him were serious searchers after truth. The religions and philosophies of the day had left them empty, and they wanted to know the truth. And they heard it as they listened to Paul tell them about Jesus and the hope we can have because of him. Are you searching for the truth? Don't let anyone or anything keep you from Jesus, who alone is the way, the truth, and the life. John 14:6. As I was reading that this week and deciding what I wanted to share and how bold I want to get according to my faith, I thought, yeah, girl, I'm going to do it. Because that is my faith. That is my belief. That is what holds me grounded and has saved my life. I've shared about my severe depression and anxiety in the past, and Jesus is why I am still here today. So the hope I have in Jesus, the hope in this world, not going to sustain you for very long. You will find it empty, and then you'll have to find something else. The hope in Jesus. I love my stitching. I love chocolate. I love to eat. I love a lot of things, but those all kind of fade away, and then the rock solid is there, and that's my Jesus. On Christ, the solid rock I stand. All other ground is sinking sand. That's it. That's me. That's what I believe, and I'm sticking to it. So thank you guys. I know a lot of you guys stick with me to the end because of this, and I am so grateful, and you are the ones that keep me going. So please continue to comment. I'm not always having time to respond back right away. Sometimes because I have to do things in certain chunks of my life because it's getting kind of busy. But please know how much that means to me and how much I value it, and that's why I push record. So thank you guys. God bless you. Choose joy nevertheless.